Welcome to Kenya, and welcome to the world's greatest classic rally. The 2025 edition of the East African Safari Classic Rally took place between the 5th and the 13th of December. This biannual event, which first ran in 2003 after the demise of the WRC Safari, brings back normally aspirated two-wheel drive vehicles built before 1985. Traditional marathon-long stages that characterised early safari rallies of a bygone era are what makes this event so unique, attracting drivers from across the globe who have always dreamed of conquering the safari. Such is the draw of this magnificent event. Over the years it has attracted former world champions such as Stig Blomqvist, Bjorn Voldegaard and Juha Kankkunen. Gymkhana stars such as Travis Pastrana and the late Ken Block have also tried their luck, and every year the event attracts stars from across the different disciplines of motorsport hungry for an African adventure. This year the event returned to Kenya's beautiful southern coastline to start at Diani. This beach is famous for its stunning white sands and crystal blue waters, colourful kangas and friendly camels, where the pace of life is relaxed and tuk-tuks are the normal mode of transport. This year, event director Joey Ghosh welcomed MRF Tyres as its new title sponsor, on a multi-year deal that will see the manufacturer become the sole provider for all competitors from 2027.
We have a very strong commercial tyre market in Africa. I would say entire Africa, particularly East Africa. So it was a great synergy for MRF to look at the toughest rally in the world for classic rally, which is here, and also look at a long-term commitment with Joey and team.
Brand ambassador and rising WRC star Martin Sesks flew out to the event to present the new Safari Spec tyres.
It's been a fantastic journey together with MRF since 2022. So we have won many rallies, especially on gravel. So that proves that we are very strong on this surface. And we found a challenge here to come to Safari to make a special tire for this kind of event.
In 2025, the event attracted a full house of entries, made up of 47 overseas crews, with the balance made up of 10 local teams. Once again, the dominant manufacturer was the Porsche, led by the Tuthill team with a record 22 clients entered, including former F1 champion Jos Verstappen and Ferdy Porsche, great-grandson of the make's legendary founder.
I'm excited to be here, and obviously I think it's a really cool car to drive around the Safari Rally, obviously with a lot of history, and it's the car that I know best driving, so I think it's the one thing that I would want to be here, right? In something that I feel comfortable.
BMA brought 6 cars, including the drive of Jordan Serderidis, navigated by M Sport Ford factory driver Gregoire Munster.
2 years ago, I think it was one of my best experience in rally, the classic, so I love it so much. And I was already sure 2 years ago that I will be back for the next event, so that's why I'm here.
But there was also a flurry of Datsun 280Zs. There to spoil the party, and leading them was Kenyan star Piers Dakin and 2011 runner-up Jeff Bell in his newly built Dan Sport Drive.
It's pretty difficult not to drive like we drive in the minis, isn't it? How do you change your mindset when how we drive in the 3-day rally seems to be getting more and more successful, doesn't it? Yeah.
Among the other beautiful machines entered were Ford Escorts, Datsun Violets and 2 Mercedes 450s, as well as this magnificent Opel Manta 400. Kenya's Baldiv Chaga in his BMA-prepared Porsche is a former winner and classic specialist. He would be amongst the favourites tipped to top the podium. Jeff Zwart is a Porsche legend in the USA, a filmmaker and hill climb specialist. This was his first time on African roads, and he was joined by Alex Gelsomino, who sat alongside the late Ken Block in 2022. At 7 o'clock on the morning of December the 5th, the teams lined up for the start at the Diamonds Leisure Golf Club, ready to take on 9 days of gruelling adventure and 1,900 kilometres of competitive stages. Among those waiting to get going was event owner and director Joey Ghosh.
Are you looking forward to the event?
Yeah, great. I am really. Been waiting for this for a long time.
What's going to be your approach to the rally?
Take it easy. Drive fast where you can see. Otherwise, take it easy.
Leading a trio of locally prepared equatorial rally team escorts was Philip Kiriazi, another driver with a wealth of safari experience.
Now, you're quite familiar with some of the areas that the rally is going through.
Yeah.
What can the top boys expect in those stages?
Quick, fast, beautiful roads, great wildlife, great people, absolutely everything that can possibly anyone want in a rally.
Defending champion Eugenio Amos returned this year after victory in 2023. His drive would be a Ferrari 308. He was the first to be flagged off. This year's event would cover 3,207 kilometres with 1,900 kilometres of demanding competitive stages, the longest in the event's history. High ambient temperatures were expected to add to the challenge, with no rain forecasted to bring any relief. Chaga was next away in the Cabra-sponsored car, flying the flag for Kenya as its lead local challenger. Switching from the Rally 1 Focus to the Porsche, Serdaridis was next to be flagged off, looking to build on his experience from 2023. Harry Hunt was the first of the newcomers to the event, starting 7th on the road. Tim Wilkins had made the journey all the way from Australia in his MRF-sponsored 280Z. There was no prologue this year to settle drivers in. It was straight down to business. Day 1 would immediately take the drivers into 3 stages, starting with a short 29-kilometre section around the base titanium mines. The second stage was a 75-kilometre section that followed the fence line around the beautiful Shimba Hills Reserve, one of the last pockets of coastal forest in Kenya. The third stage dropped down to Kinango and to the west of the hills for another 71 kilometres, which was more open and would be a real test to end the day. Crews then returned to Diani for the first overnight halt. The first stage was expected to set the tone for the day, with narrow, twisty sections to begin, followed by a fast middle section around the dam, and finally a more technical section to finish. From the onset, it was clear that Amos was in trouble. The Ferrari wasn't firing on all cylinders, and he was soon caught by Chaga, who was being held up in his dust. By stage 2, the Ferrari's issues proved terminal, and his defence of the title was over. Chaga was consistently third fastest on the day's opening stages as he settled into his rhythm. A heavy landing on the opening stage gave him a scare, but he got away with it, and by the end of the day he was lying in second place, 3 minutes and 40 seconds off the lead. Piers Dakin only knows how to drive one way, his flat-out approach netting him 2 stage wins. He ended the day with a strong lead, putting the Datsun ahead of the Porsches and 2 Kenyans at the top of the leaderboard. Jeff Bell was loving the new 280Z. The engine offered him more bottom-end torque, and on the fast open sections he could pull out a top speed of 203 kilometres per hour. To be lying third at the end of the first day was a great start. Jos Verstappen was experiencing Kenyan roads for the first time, and using tulips for notes took some getting used to. But the current Belgian rally champion was up in 4th overall. Raymond Vos is no stranger to the Classic Safari and is also a previous winner of the Mini Classic. Consistent top 10 times put him into 6th overall. After setting the second fastest time on the opener, Fred Miclot dropped down to 6th after losing time with a puncher on the third stage. Yevgeny Kiryev has in the past had mixed fortunes on the classic, most notably when his engine failed on the final stage in 2022 while lying in 6th overall. He was off to a steady start this time though, ending the day in 7th place. The Irish duo of Keith McIver and David Burns in the Dansport prepared Escort were pleasantly surprised to find themselves in 8th at the end of the first day, leaving a sea of Porsches behind them. Karim Wizanji was a familiar face, back after a long absence and behind the wheel of a BMA prepared Porsche. He went second fastest on stage 2, but punches on the first and third stages meant he ended the day 9th overall. Despite taking the lead initially after a win on the opening stage, Bonamy Grimes was another driver to fall foul of the tough rocky sections, dropping down the leaderboard to round out the top 10. Wilkins had gone 5th fastest on the opener, but lost 6 minutes on the second stage and dropped down to 12th. Punches were the order of the day. High ambient temperatures in the mid-30s combined with the long stages meant tyre management was going to be critical, as crews had just 40 tyres allocated for the whole event. Cedarides found himself down in 24th at the end of day 1, 18 minutes off the lead. He would have a long uphill battle ahead to climb back up the leaderboard, but this is the Safari, and it was just the beginning of his African adventure. Disaster too for Johnny Gemmell after he lost 20 minutes on the first stage. He went on to be the second fastest on stage 3, showing what could have been, but found himself down in 41st position overall. Co-driving for Roger Samuelson, Jessica Patel was the first day's leading lady, guiding her driver to 16th overall. The smallest car taking part in this year's rally was the Citroën Visa Chrono of François Abrial. He made it through all 3 stages, ending the day 43rd overall. Jordi Pons was one of several drivers having to take the maximum penalty for the day after his steering broke for the second time and he was stranded on stage 2.
For sure not the way we wanted to start this Safari rally. The direction was broken and we went full straight in a corner, as you can see. And now we are here waiting for some help. We've been here for 2 hours, let's see.
There was no easing into this year's event. A long, hot, dusty start setting the mood for the days ahead. The first end-of-day service was back at the Diamonds Leisure Golf Club, with plenty of work for the mechanics to do as the drivers planned their strategies for the following day. The event had only just begun.
Oh, yeah, the car went very well. We're just doing, having a look at the clutch now. It started to fade a little bit. But the biggest problem was that we had a co-driver got very ill, so we're having to swap him out. Can't do it. So we missed the last section because he was too ill to do it.
Day 2 took the cruise inland towards Elephant Country and the stunning red earth that is typical of Tsavo, one of Africa's largest national parks. The day started with a repeat of the first part of the previous day's stage 3, with crews headed away from the coast and inland towards the tighter hills. The first stage was the longest of the day at 108 kilometres. The second stage ran from McKinnon Road around Kassigao to Kileva near Voi town, providing a stretch that would be familiar to those that had competed here before. The first part of this stage is characterised by medium bends separated by long straights, where cars would be sitting on their rev limiters and top speeds would play a big factor. Stage 3 would then take crews around the back of the tighter hills from Ndomi to Mactau before the overnight rest halt at Tighter Hills Lodge. It was a long day, with 278 competitive kilometres to be covered. Baldiv Chaga managed to reduce the gap to Dakin on the first stage by almost 3 minutes, but it was soon clear that the Datsun driver had no intention of relinquishing his lead. The long straights on the middle stage should have favoured the Porsches, but Dakin went fastest on the next 2 stages to hold on to his lead by 1 minute and 19 seconds.
Yeah, I knew stage 1 today I'd lose so much time because of the psychological weight of running against bodies and stuff like that. You know, I'm not interested, so it's unnerving for me. But
I was going to ask you actually, this running first on the road, that changes things a bit, doesn't it? It's kind of the downside of leading.
It is the downside of leading, but it's also it's one of those things, isn't it? You can't be close to the front if you're not prepared to have your turn opening the road.
After taking the first stage, Chaga went second fastest on the following 2. The 2 Kenyan drivers had stretched the gap to the competition to 12 minutes and 24 seconds. Would there be a strategy between the 2 of them to play it safe, or was it too early in the rally for mind games?
What's the strategy between the 2 Kenyan boys? Are we going to team up and stay in front?
I don't know.
Fight it out on day 9?
I think Piers and I are both acting like it's a short mini classic, but the car seems to be complaining now, like, can you take it easy? We have another 6 days to go. So I don't know how Piers feels about it, but I don't know. If we back off, he'll just keep running away, and if we keep going faster, you risk. So it's just a balance we need to try and find now, but we'll see how it goes after about tomorrow.
Raymond Vos, with experienced navigator Stefan Privot beside him, took few risks and managed to get past Verstappen to move into a podium position. Verstappen lost time with a puncher on the middle stage, but was able to fight back and maintain his 4th overall position. Kiriev, like Vos ahead of him, took few risks and had a trouble-free run to end the day in 5th place. Harry Hunt had experienced a difficult first day as he adapted his driving style to the challenging conditions, but had also suffered multiple punctures. However, 2 top 3 times saw him move up to 6th overall. So in the battle of the Porsches, it was advantage Tuthill at the moment. However, Fred Miklotta was still in the hunt as the BMA driver ended the day in 7th. Serdaridis was the biggest mover of the day as he recovered from 24th, setting a best of 4th fastest on the second stage to move back up the leaderboard to 8th. Unable to match the top speed of the bigger engine cars in front of them on the long straights towards Cassigao, McIver kept on the rev limiter, staying inside the top 15 all day and holding 9th as they arrived at Tighter Hills Lodge. BMA driver Philippe Dubarret rounded out the top 10 after going 6th fastest on the second stage of the day. The Belgian driver was beginning to find his feet. The leaderboard was already spreading out and there were 27 minutes separating the top 10 by the end of day 2. It was a hugely disappointing day for Jeff Bell, who had started the day in 3rd overall. A broken steering rack on the first stage cost them 54 minutes, plummeting the car down the leaderboard to 29th. The fight back would begin on the next stage, though, with a 3rd fastest time. Gearbox failure on the second stage also put paid to Wasanji's charge after setting the second fastest time on the opening stage.
Are you willing to tow us?
He was towed out by fellow competitors though, and mechanics at BMA were able to replace the gearbox at the roadside service.
We lost the gearbox in that stage.
You lost the gearbox? Okay. Are you done for the day?
No, we're going to try and... They've just fitted a new gearbox in. We'll try and do the last stage.
Oh, brilliant.
Yeah.
Okay.
Jeff Zwart was holding steady at 13th and was in close battle with Thomas Bell, the pair separated by just 4 seconds going into day 3. Farhaz Khan was also getting to grips with his Porsche after competing previously in a Mark I Escort. He was now the third highest Kenyan driver, moving up to 15th place. Lewis Stein got a little offline on the deep camber here, but held on to bring the car home in 12th. Andrew Siddle in the third Dansport car was another recovering from a difficult opening day, climbing up from 32nd back to 19th. Piotr Beaupré was part of a trio of Datsun Violets that had been prepared in the UK by Triple S Motorsport. The Violet is best remembered for its multiple victories on the safari in the hands of the legendary Shekhar Mehta. Teammate Gary Bimler was just in front, the pair separated by 4 minutes. Also struggling with breakdowns but still running was the beautiful Mercedes 450 SLC of Nuno Lagrado, the big V8 on song as it got up to speed on this long straight towards Kassigao. Eric Bengi was forced to repair his engine on day 1, but then damaged a drive shaft on the first stage of day 2 after hitting a bank while in the dust of a slower car.
Extremely hot. Lost a drive shaft in the first stage. Managed to fix it, crawled to the end, fixed a new one. We are motoring again. Second stage, it flowed nicely. I hope you've done a good time. Yeah, preparing for the last stage of the day.
Some roadside repairs later, and he was back up and running, ready to tackle the last stage. If 2023 was characterised by rain and mud, this year was hot and dusty, with daily temperatures in the mid-30s and not much respite from the heat. The teams arrived at Taita Hills Lodge for the overnight rest halt and the end-of-day service. Day 3 was centred around the Sisal estates and game sanctuaries surrounding the Taitas, giving the crews a chance to enjoy some closed road action on the first 2 stages. The day opened with a long 90-kilometre stage starting at the Taita Hills Sanctuary before traversing Lumo Conservancy and crossing over into Taita Estate. It was a mix of tight and twisty tracks, followed by fast open sections where the drivers could really open up. The second stage took cars through the famous sisal plantations that stretch beyond the horizon, before the third stage headed along the base of the Taita Hills from Bura to Mactau. Though today would be shorter than day 2, competitors would still face 223 kilometres of stages, with only 50 kilometres of liaison distance. The drivers got a chance to lie in this morning, and with the first car leaving Parc Fermé at 9 a.m, there was plenty of time for a good breakfast before the day's action began. Stunning vistas across the conservancies characterised the first stage, and although the roads were closed to the public, drivers would have to be on the lookout for wildlife crossing the route. Jos Verstappen took his first stage win on the long opener and then followed it up with third on the second.
I just spoke to Bowlby and Piers. They said you're going much quicker this morning. They're starting to feel a bit of pressure. You're finding your rhythm?
Well, I think we do, but it's getting used to, I think, the circumstances, how fast you can go over bumps and ruts and things like that. But I think the speed like this is fine.
Unfortunately though, on the final stage, he got caught out by a ditch on the inside of a corner, badly damaging the front end and ending his day. He would join the list of other top drivers battling their way back up the leaderboard. Dakin wasn't backing off, however, losing out to Verstappen by just a second on the opener, going fourth on the second and then claiming the win on the final stage. He extended his lead to 3 minutes by the end of the day as we now ride on board with him through the Bura section. Chagger was keeping the pressure on the Datsun in front. The pair traded times over the 3 stages as the different road conditions suited one car and then the other in turn. Dakin got the better of him on the 3rd stage by over a minute, and the gap now extended to 3 minutes and 15 seconds between the 2 rivals. Such was the pace of the pair, they now held a 19-minute gap over the rest of the field. Voss, however, refused to be drawn into this battle at the front, preferring to keep it steady and stay within his own pace. He lost time in the middle section with suspension damage, but made it through. He was coming under pressure from Harry Hunt, but held on to his current podium position. As a result of the demise of Verstappen and 2 top 3 times, Hunt now moved up to 4th overall. Despite this overshoot, he was proving that he was now very comfortable behind the wheel of his Porsche. After 2 days of punctures, he was now getting the clean run he'd been looking for.
We've learned a lot over the last 2 days, you know. It's been a big learning curve, and but it's good. It's good. It's really enjoyable. It's better than I thought, to be honest. So I'm loving it. Yeah.
Kyriev punctured on the opening long stage, losing both 4 minutes and his position to Hunt. However, with Verstappen dropping back, he would end the day back where he started in 5th overall. Serdaridis started strong with the 4th fastest time. He then opened the taps on stage 2 to take his first stage of the rally. He would move up another 2 places to 6th after going 3rd fastest on the day's final stage. Fred Miklota was clearly enjoying himself whilst those around him juggled positions. 2 top 10 times on the closed roads at the start of the day kept him in touch. On the final stage, he went 4th fastest to keep his 7th place overall.
Yeah, not so bad. It's quite a technical navigation stuff today, but the stages are amazing, and yeah, we really like them, and I think everybody's a bit on the same level if you look at the times. So okay, the stages are less rough. This one I don't know, so maybe it's also helping. So everybody's keeping a bit the same speed, and but it's a good fun, and that's what.
McIver once again struggled on the long, fast straights, but should have been able to claw back some time on the tight and twisty sections that suited the nimble Escort. However, power steering issues hampered any progress, and it was a tired man that made it to the start of the 3rd stage. Despite this, he would move up a place to 8th overall.
We're building muscle today.
Okay.
It was hard work.
Yeah, absolutely.
The stages were beautiful, but that spoiled it a bit for me, and I just ran out of energy.
Roger Samuelson found himself up to 9th overall at the end of day 3 after Dubarre hit trouble and dropped down the order. He was now 48 minutes off the lead with a 12-minute gap to the Escort in front. Thomas Bell, navigated by Ryan Champion, who won the event in 2017, moved into the top 10 with a trouble-free, steady drive. Paavo Mulgo was having a seesaw event so far. Despite setting top 10 times, he was being hampered by mechanical issues that would drop him back. By the end of day 3, he was on a climb again though, sitting in 13th. TJ Stein, with renowned British driver David Higgins in the navigator's seat, was another driver setting a series of top 10 times. However, they were also experiencing their fair share of issues that kept them down in 15th overall. Asad Anwar moved into second place in Class 3, driving his Escort, no major issues, and he was up to 21st overall. Veterans of the Classic Safari in their Mark I Escort, the Bentley brothers have been long-time supporters of the event. They moved up to 23rd overall and 3rd in class, 8 minutes behind Anwar. Local pairing of Shakil Khan and Asad Mughal had taken on the ALS-prepared Escort and were having a good rally so far, enjoying today's stages and finishing up in 29th. After 3 days behind the wheel and enjoying the rally from a driver's perspective, event director Joey Ghosh decided to hand driving duties over. A young talent with a big name would be taking the wheel for the following day's stages, as we will soon reveal. As crews returned to Tighter Hills Lodge for the third night stop, there was still no sign of any rain that might bring relief from the relentless heat. For the mechanics, there was still plenty of work to do. Day 4 would be an early start, and as the first teams pulled out at 7 a.m, they were looking at another long day ahead. 250 kilometres of transport to add to 226 kilometres of competitive sections. The first stage started in view of the service park and took crews on a relatively short 50-kilometre loop around the Tighter Hills Sanctuary, once again running on closed roads. The second stage then headed up into the legendary Tighter Hills themselves. With their steep climbs and multiple hairpins, drivers would then drop down to Ndi. This was followed by a long 163-kilometre liaison up the Mombasa Road to Simba. Finally, the cars would tackle a long 122 kilometres to Irimeto on the edge of Amboseli National Park, which would be the final sting in the tail before the rest day that would signal the end of the first half of the rally. Dakin led the crews out and went third fastest on the opening stage, dropping 27 seconds to Chaga. However, news then quickly came in that he had stopped on the second stage and wasn't moving. A broken drive shaft at the top of the climb put paid to his chances of a top result on this stage, and he now joined the growing list of former frontrunners fighting their way back up the leaderboard. It was a huge blow for the Kenyan driver, who eventually got back on the road to remain in the event classifications. Disaster too for Raymond Vos, who blew the engine after a misgearing. His rally was over as he opted to call it a day and head for home. Baldiv Chaga now found himself in the lead with a huge 22-minute advantage over his nearest rivals. After going fastest on the opener, he could now afford to back off, but a scare on the final stage when his engine lost top-end power was a timely reminder that there was still a long way to go.
I think about 12 k's up the hill, we saw Piers on the side. I totally do feel gutted for him. He really put up a really good spirited fight. I mean, this is the reason why we're actually like 20 minutes or whatever ahead is because of Piers. He was the guy we were fighting.
Harry Hunt had moved up to second overall, despite another puncher on the day's opening section. He missed out on a stage victory by a second on the fabled Tighter Hills run before cruising home on the final stage. Kiriev moved up into a podium position with the demise of Voss, but not before losing 5 minutes with a puncher on the opening stage. 2 top 10 times, though, to end the day kept him ahead of Serdaridis by 18 seconds going into the rest day. Serdaridis, meanwhile, found himself back up in 4th and in close range of the podium after a strong fight back from 24th on day 1. There were now 3 BMA-built cars in the top 5. Fred Miklota was driving the third of these cars, having moved up 2 places when front-running rivals hit trouble. He went third fastest on the long final stage of the day to cap off a brilliant first half of the rally. The mighty Irish duo in their Escort was now the highest placed non-Porsche in the rally, and having driven the wheels off their car on every stage, sat in a well-deserved 6th place. Samuelsson ended the day 8 minutes behind them, but had clawed back 4 minutes on MacIver during the long, faster sections that were definitely better suited to the more powerful Porsche. The biggest mover among those at the top of the field was Andrew Siddall. He had jumped from 12th up to 8th overall to become the highest placed Datsun. Siddall's fortune had come at a cost, though, to Thomas Bell. Despite losing out to the Datsun, though, he still moved up to 9th overall. And there was a new face in the top 10, as Roger Hodeneus climbed up from 14th overall, thanks to a safe, no-risk strategy that was starting to pay off. While the top 10 were beginning to take shape, there was still plenty of drivers fighting tooth and nail further down the field. Jeff Bell was already back to 12th overall, but with a 4-hour gap to Khan in front of him, he would need those ahead to hit trouble if he was going to move back into the top 10. Ferdy Porsche had made his way back to 13th overall. More accustomed to driving on ice, he was starting to get to grips with the tough Kenyan roads. He was navigated by renowned automotive journalist and TV presenter Chris Harris. It was Joey Ghosh's super sub, Charlie Tuthill, who was the real surprise package of the day. At just 18 years old, he was tackling his first safari stages and showcasing impressive raw talent. He set an attacking second fastest time on the longest stage of the day, after going 4th on his first ever stage earlier that morning. Hugues Lacam was also taking the day by storm, with a surprising second fastest time on the opening stage. But despite this, the Frenchman still languished in 43rd after a difficult start to the rally in his BMA Porsche. Further down the field, the veteran team of Kritikos and Thati were still motoring on strong and in 34th overall. Manuel Arroyo was now the leading driver in the Equatorial Rally Team trio and was locked in a close battle with Ferran Font in a similar Mark II Escort. The pair were just outside the top 30. Georgina Guest was the only woman taking the wheel this year. Sharing driving duties with Simon Bellac, they were having a great adventure. Tired and weary, the drivers made their way towards Amboseli Sopa Lodge, where the local Maasai community welcomed them after 4 gruelling days, marking the end of the rally's first leg. There'd be no end-of-day service, and the drivers at least could look forward to a well-earned rest the following day. The magnificent sight of the snow-capped peaks of Mount Kilimanjaro heralded a beautiful morning as crews enjoyed a leisurely breakfast. Although Day 5 is labelled as a rest day, In reality, it's a hugely busy morning for the mechanics, repairing and rebuilding the cars ready for the next 4 days of bruising rally stages. With just 5 hours allocated to this, the pace was frantic and the service park a hive of activity. Each competitor is allowed just one service vehicle, with 3 mechanics able to work on the car and a manager car in support.
The only advice that I say to my drivers, and I say the same to everybody because I know it's true, I say, if you think you're too slow, go slower. Because this is really a very hard rally. And every year, everybody starts too quickly, too fast, and then you break something. You know, this rally is the equivalent of doing 7 times the Safari WRC rally.
Some drivers were able to either take the day off and relax by the pool or go for a game drive in the world-famous national park. Many, however, would be found working on their cars, lending a hand to their mechanics or just enjoying the service park atmosphere.
Quite a burn you've got on your arm there. How did that happen?
That changed this part that you stayed last time I did it. It's cooler this time.
Kenya is a beautiful country, the people are fantastic, so that's everything. The accommodation, organization is, in my opinion, perfect. So we are happy to be here. So that for us is absolutely amazing experience.
We drive in the Group 4 car, we're in Group 4 with the 3-liter engine car, so we are a little bit slower than them, but still we enjoy very much. It's amazing car, so nothing to complain.
Yeah, well, I guess we've come back with a new co-driver that's never done this rally before. He's in his 70s and it was his dream to do it, so it's important for us to try and get him to the end. And our mistake was in the very first day, I made a mistake with some holes and damaged back suspension. Since then, I've put a different head on and now we're going well.
It was wonderful the 3 first days because we have the smallest car of the rally, right? 1.3 liter, but very light, and so it was honestly doing well. We achieved 34th on the overall, okay, so more or less at the half of the fleet. And yesterday was a bad day. we had a shaft rupture, so we lost a lot of time. And we were out of time to reach the next stage.
The service park was visited by the Honourable Joseph Olelenku, Governor for Kajiado, who had a chance to take a ride in the ALS Porsche. It's quite remarkable what these mechanics can achieve in such a short window of time, but by 1 p.m. they would put their spanners down and take the afternoon to reorganise service vans and plans before a brief opportunity to relax ahead of the start of the rally's second leg. Day 6 and the beginning of the second leg of this marathon classic safari rally. The cars prepared and ready to recommence battle on the toughest of Kenyan roads. The first stage would take crews from Isineti to Selengai on the most northern circuit of this year's event. If not fully respected already, it was a quick reminder of the challenges the safari presents, with long stretches of fesh-fesh, the infamous ultra-fine dust, just 3 kilometres into the 85-kilometre stage. The second stage was fast and open, taking the cars from Mashuru to Naserian, the shortest of the day's stages. And the final stage would start at Il Mukutani before 20 kilometres in, rejoining the first stage from the opposite direction, tracking back towards Amboseli and finishing just shy of the fesh-fesh at Irimeto. In total, competitors would face 248 competitive kilometres. Baldiv Chaga led the crews out and would be sweeping on the fast open route. He had a scare in the fesh-fesh at the start of the stage when he hit a large rock hidden beneath the dust, which knocked his steering out of alignment, but thankfully not causing any major damage. It was a safe run from Chaga. Setting times outside the top 5 was enough to keep him comfortably in the lead at the end of the day. Harry Hunt went second fastest on the opener and was clearly pushing harder than Chaga, hoping to close the gap. By the end of the day, he had pulled back 4 minutes to sit 16 minutes off the lead.
Yeah, good day, good day. We had good stages this morning. And then quite a fast one in the middle, very fast, it was nice. And then the last stage, it's the same stage as the last one before the rest day, and it's just, we find it really tricky. So it's a bit frustrating for us. Another slight throttle issue with the car, but it was good day, glad it's done.
Kiriev lost ground to Hunt to open a 9-minute gap, but more importantly, he increased his lead over Serdaridis by a minute in the battle for the podium place. Straight lines like these through the Fesh, saving him time.
I'm looking at what's happening around us, mainly behind us, and yeah, we're not taking extra risks, but trying to keep the pace.
Serdaridis managed to get the better of Kiriev on the final stage as the two traded stage times. His fourth place was safe with 31 minutes to the escort behind. McIver moved up into fifth with another clean day, such were the gaps around him. He set times well outside the top 10, but those coming behind were by now too far off to affect his position. Disaster, however, struck for Fred Miklota, whose rally came to an end with a roll on the opening stage. Hodenaeus had managed to get past Thomas Bell and Roger Samuelson to move up into 6th from 10th. And on top speed alone during these long stages, he had a realistic chance of catching the escort in front of him. A strong and steady performance would see Jeff Bell move up into 7th in the mighty 280Z. Despite not pushing to limit, a string of top 10 times was enough to see him climb up the leaderboard. Farhaz Khan now moved into the top 10 with another clean drive, keeping away from trouble. He was now fully comfortable behind the wheel of the ALS Porsche and enjoying the run. While the top combinations were fully focused on their standings, there was also a string of drivers intent on setting good stage times further down the field and making the most of their safari adventure. Despite being here for the experience, Charlie Tuthill was growing as a driver by the minute, and in securing the fastest time on the opening stage was proving to be a quick learner. Gearbox issues would slow him down on the day's shorter middle section, but he would go 8th fastest on the final longer stage, back to Amberzelli.
Won the first stage by 40 seconds, which was really positive, which just set the tone for the day, which was super nice. Being in Kenya like this, it's amazing driving these cars. So, no, on the whole, it's been a great day, and having that stage win at the start was super cool. But hopefully we get some more luck tomorrow with the majority of the day. Yeah.
Dakin had recovered from the disappointment of day 4 and was now focused on a flat-out approach to the rally. Clearly enjoying himself, he registered 2 top 3 times on the first 2 stages before bagging the top spot on the last, cementing a good day out. Verstappen was also building on his experience of the Kenyan stages for a possible return in the future. With two top 2 fastest times followed by a handy 4th quickest run on stage 3, he was illustrating that had it not been for his earlier mechanical issues, he could well have been in the fight for a podium finish. There were other crews quietly climbing the leaderboard too. The Norwegian car, driven by Bjørn Erik Indal, had moved up to 14th overall. Jakob Grola in the beautiful Opel Manta 400 needed some help to get out of the fesh, but otherwise had a good day and was up to 22nd overall. The fesh would catch a few drivers out, but there were plenty of photographers and film crew on hand to pull them clear. Bonamy Grimes's rally went from bad to worse with this small mistake, which knocked the tyre off its rim. He would lose more time having to stop and change the wheel.
Is the handbrake on? It's taking longer because you're watching.
Aslam Khan has competed in every classic to date, and the veteran was once again back. He had handed over his former Porsche drive to Fahaz Khan for this year's event, instead getting behind the wheel of an ALS Mark I Escort.
Ford is a fun car to drive. It's got a reasonable power. Obviously, I mean, the Porsche has got the speed, it's got the power, it's a much more comfortable car to drive. But I gave the car to Fazzi because Fazzi has proven himself. And, last year he came 4th twice with this with the Ford.
A final surprise for the end of stage 3 saw a rainstorm pass overhead, treating crews to unexpected mud and water splashes, a welcome break from the relentless heat and dust. At the last roadside service of the day, there was plenty to talk about.
Long, tiring, lots of unexpected challenges, so holes in the road, dusty, and on the last bit now we had a sudden rain shower, so it became extremely slippery. Like we had no traction whatsoever, so the water was covering the road, so I had an extreme challenge at the end.
Day 7 would take crews on a final run north before heading back once again towards the tighter hills. The first stage was the longest of the day at 138 kilometres, finishing at Simba on the Mombasa Road. This would then be followed by a repeat of the Day 2 run to Mactau, and the final stage was back to familiar territory in the Lumo Conservancy, ending the day back at Tighter Hills Lodge with the first cars expected at 3:30 that afternoon. We start the day with a ride on board Piers Dakin's Mighty Z to get a feel of the opening stage. There was very little drama at the front of the field, with the top 5 cars holding station. Chagger led from Hunt, but the British driver was still eating into the Kenyans' lead, cutting the gap down to 14 minutes. Hunt was on a flyer and set 2 faster stage times in a bid to keep the pressure on. Kiriev held off Serdaridis and extended the gap out to 11 minutes after the BMA driver lost time with punches in the middle stage. Trailing the top 4 by half an hour, there was little McIver could do but stick to his own rhythm, and he was caught on the long first stage by Hodenaeus in the faster Porsche. Even so, he maintained a steady pace to keep hold of 5th overall. Jeff Bell managed to get past Hodenaeus with an 18-second gap to move up to 6th. He now had his sights firmly on the escort in front, with 2 days to go. Farhaz Khan moved up to 8th overall after Samuelson rolled on the day's opening stage. The Swede was able to get back on the road to continue, but had dropped down by now to 22nd overall. Siddle moved back up to 9th after losing time the previous day to put 2 Datsuns back in the top 10. Thomas Bell managed to hold on to the final top 10 place, but was coming under pressure from Ferdy Porsche, who was snapping at his heels, just 3 seconds behind. Jeff Zwart, meanwhile, was holding steady at 14th, the American loving his first safari experience.
I literally read about this event in high school, and that was the days that the 73 Carrera RSs were going through this. And it's funny, the dirt's still the same color and the skies are the same color, so it's kind of fun to live that situation this many years again.
The Aussies hadn't had the best of runs in their 280Z. A string of mechanical issues meant they were languishing at the back of the field.
Great work, just cruising along. I'm absolutely exhausted. I admit I struggled a lot today. I don't know if it's a cumulative tiredness or what the go is, but today was hard, but equally as fun. There's some fantastic stages out there. The car performed well. We had a good time.
Nishal Patel, in another Tut Hill Porsche, was enjoying his first safari experience with Oshan Price, winner of the Roger Clark Rally in 2025, in the navigator's seat.
We planned this just after the pandemic to enter the safari. The car turns 50. It's 1975 born. I'm born in 1975, so we're celebrating 50 years of achievement. This car here is Ryan Champion's winning car from 2017.
Another driver going quickly between breakdowns was Philip Kiriazi. He was looking forward to enjoying the experience of taking on stages that ran through his own Sisal estate over the final 2 days. As the day drew to a close, the teams made a welcome return to the Taita Hills Lodge for the overnight rest halt. The penultimate day of the rally saw the event once again centred around the county of Taita Taveta. The first stage was a new one, taking crews towards the Tanzanian border with a tight and twisty 80-kilometre stage from Ziwani to Seleta. The rally then returned to the Taita Sisal estate for the middle stage, a shorter 50-kilometre loop. And finally, it was another 107 kilometres running along the bottom of the Sagala Hills before working back to Motate and returning to the Taita Hills Lodge.
Morning, Jeff. Day 8. We're at the business end of the rally now.
Yeah.
Mate, you've made an incredible comeback. You're back up to 6th.
Yeah.
Is that what you expected a few days ago?
No, I thought, once you're in, I don't know, if we were like 29th or something, I thought that's the end of the rally and kind of lost interest a bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's getting a bit more interesting again.
The first stage of the day would be a turning point in the rally. Twisty and technical with a myriad of junctions that would catch out anyone not fully on the ball. Overshoots were plenty as navigators struggled to keep up. But there would be some respite though as the road opened up towards the end of the day. Baldiv Chagga started the day with a healthy lead, but a costly mistake on the opening stage soon slashed that down to 5 minutes. They wrong-slotted and then beached the car as they attempted to turn around, taking 9 minutes to get going again, and they were now under pressure.
Something happened to our intercom, the connection got broken. I just understand there's a wire issue, so we were trying to fiddle, and we have a spare intercom. Trying to get the spare wire, we missed a junction, and just then we managed to get stuck on a bank as we were trying to find our way back. Something that could have been prevented. I mean, could have lost maybe 40 seconds, but just one of those things. Yeah, just.
Hunt now found himself opening the route as Chagga dropped to 3rd on road. Unfazed, he went fastest on the opening stage and was now in a real position to fight for the lead. Charlie Tuthill returned to set another fastest time on the middle stage after being second quickest on the opener. This would be the end of his learning experience, but we hope to see him back for a full campaign in the future. The long final stage went to Jos Verstappen, still enjoying himself and continuing to gain valuable safari experience.
The good thing is we're learning, you're getting experience. Of course, we had the accident on the 3rd day. That spoiled the whole race for us. But we're learning and gain experience, and probably we have to come back. Right.
TJ Stein went 3rd fastest on this stage, another driver who would take a lot away from his first attempt here. Co-driver David Higgins' first taste of Kenya might also be enough to see him return in the driver's seat next time.
First time in Africa, can't believe I haven't been here sooner. Absolutely incredible place, people are amazing, but the roads are just such a challenge. It's amazing. On my driver's his first time ever doing a rally, and then the last stage I think we were 3rd fastest, so he's doing a really good job, but we lost a bit of time the other day when we had to do 100 miles with a wheel that was broken steering, so we lost a lot of time then. But the roads, the place, the whole thing is it's very addictive, and I'd like to come back on the other side of the seat.
As the battle for the podium closed in, Serdaridis made the most of an opportunity to catch Kiriev and closed the gap on the opening two stages. However, they then lost 12 minutes on the third, but managed to hold on to fourth place. Keith McIver was expecting to come under pressure from Jeff Bell, but found himself with an 8-minute cushion after the South African lost time with punctures. Bell's charge was curtailed, and he once again found himself on the back foot, losing out to Hodeneus and dropping back to 7th overall. A clean run for the Dutch driver meant he was now back into the top 6 with 1 day to go.
Today was a good day. The first stage was quite tricky for both driver and navigator. I think we did a good job in it. Came out of that one. The second stage was really, really nice, and the third one was even better. So yeah, just keeping one pace, not trying to do any heroics. So far, so good. Hopefully it remains that way.
With big gaps separating them, Khan, Siddle and Thomas Bell held their respective positions, staying out of trouble.
First time to Kenya, so I've absolutely loved it, and it's so special, so special. Fall in love with it actually, but I'm based in the Middle East, so I'm used to the heat, right? But I'm not used to the beautiful landscapes you get.
Ferdy Porsche had managed to get past Bell to get into the top 10, but a mistake and a roll cost them time on the final stage.
We just missed a note. We just went straight over two culverts that would have been like a left within, like in between them, and we just didn't see that, and just fifth gear flew into like over the first one and into the other one, and then we rolled the car.
But the damage was superficial, and the mechanics would soon have the car ready for the final day. Asad Anwar was the second escort on the leaderboard, lying 16th overall. He was also the third highest placed Kenyan, and despite losing his brakes on the second stage, was having a great run. As day 8 came to a close, the East African Safari Classic once again proved there are no let-up days, and 49 cars were still running, ready to tackle the final stages. The last evening service stretched into the night as mechanics worked to get the cars ready for the final day of the rally. Although this would be the last day, there were still 3 stages to run and 256 competitive kilometres to complete. The day started with a 109-kilometre stage from Mariwenyi back to McKinnon Road, running the route first experienced on day 2 in reverse. The second stage was a new one, through Sisal Estates on the opposite side of the Mombasa Road from the earlier Kushashu section. And the final stage was a reverse of day 1's stage 3, taking crews back to Mwachanda before a 75-kilometre liaison section through the Shimba Hills to the finish at Diani Beach. With just 5 minutes separating the leaders, there was still all to play for. Chagga was the first out, the 2022 winner opting to push hard, opening up a 40-second gap over Hunt before disaster struck. On this fast opening section, 20 kilometres from the end of the stage, he was caught out by a ditch into a tightening medium right, and the car rolled heavily, ending Chaga's rally. It was heartbreaking for both his team and the Kenyan fans alike, but thankfully the crew didn't sustain any serious injuries and were able to walk away to fight another day. As Harry Hunt passed the stricken Porsche of Chaga, he knew he was now in the lead, and with 23 minutes in hand, he could afford to be cautious over the final 2 stages.
I mean, it's a long way. I mean, yeah, it's pretty. He's fine out the car and stuff. So, yeah, I think I was surprised to see him there, but.
Can you tell me a little bit about the note there? Was it?
The thing is, it's so fast, and then the medium right, so fast, medium left. I mean, the top of fifth, you know. And then I think this one was just a bit tighter than the previous. Okay. It was a super wide road as well, so you can drift a bit. Maybe just a little bit too much. We went wide, you know, and then we saw him, and it screwed us up a bit, and then. But yeah, they were both out of the car with their helmets off, and then we just cruised to the end. And now we've got 2 more stages, so now it's just like.
Yevgeny Kiryev was now in second overall, and with a massive 38-minute gap to third, he could now cruise. But, as he knew all too well from past experience, anything could still happen, so he wasn't sitting too comfortably just yet. Serdaridis now held the final podium position, but he was having driveshaft issues and would have to nurse the car home, praying it would make it to the finish line. So while the podium looked settled, there was still lots going on behind. Keith McIver knew there wasn't much he could do to hold off the charging Datsun behind him. With a 25 km/h difference in top speed and long fast straights ahead, he was just focused on getting to the end. But 5th overall and first in Class 3 was a mighty achievement for the Dansport prepared Escort.
How would you describe your first experience of the safari?
Epic, unbelievable. I don't know how we done it. We hadn't a puncture, not one puncture. So I think that was it. Just consistency, just drove it as we've seen it and behaved ourselves.
Jeff Bell had started the day in 7th place, and after a magnificent fight back since falling to 29th on day 2, he committed to one last push. His decision paid off as he overhauled the 2 cars in front, and with Chaga out, he would finish 4th overall.
Jeff, what a rally, mate. You pulled it back to 4th.
Yeah, amazing.
Hey?
They're pretty amazing. We were 34th on the second day.
Yeah.
Ah, great fun.
Fantastic drive, Jeff.
Oh, this car is just amazing.
Roger Hodenaeus capped off a fantastic first Safari Classic by finishing 6th overall. He found some real pace on the second leg and brought the car home trouble-free for a great result. The honour of being the highest-placed Kenyans now fell to Fahaz and Tosef Khan. They would finish 7th overall. Their rally hadn't been without drama, and they drove the last part of the final stage stuck in 3rd gear, nursing their car back to Diani.
Mate! We did half of that stage in 3rd gear only.
In 3rd gear only. A little stress to end the rally.
Look, Marcus.
There's not a lot going on in there. Porridge.
Nothing.
Andrew Siddle hasn't always had the best of luck on the safari, but this year, despite a few issues that dropped him at times out of the top 20, he managed to bring the 3rd Dansport prepared car home in 8th overall. In 9th overall was the Porsche of Pavel Molgo. His move this year to Porsche from his previous drive in a Mercedes 450 having paid off. And rounding up the top 10 was the second BMA Porsche driven by Philippe Dubarret. Moving up from 15th position overall the previous day, this had been a sterling day's work. The final day had given Ougla Calm and Delphine Delfino their first stage win. They followed this with 2 third fastest times to see them end the event in a flurry. Bon-Ami Grimes ended the rally as he began it with a final stage win. It had been a rally to forget for the Welshman, but an adventure nonetheless. The smallest car on this year's rally, the Citroën of Françoise Abrial and Michel Peyran, made it through all 9 days to come home 35th and to take the Class 1 win. For all the crews that finished, there was plenty to fill the memory bank. Heartbreak, frustration, elation, and possible satisfaction at having conquered this marathon classic event. As the last stage came to a close, Richard Tuthill had the agonising wait to see if his cars would bring home the top 2 positions. Finally, Harry Hunt and Steve McPhee appeared and the celebrations could begin. This was the Englishman's first attempt at the Classic Safari and a well-deserved victory.
You've done it. Winner of the 2025 Classic Safari Rally.
Yes!
How nerve-wracking was that last stage, mate?
Oh, that was hard. That was very nervy. So much fun. So much fun. Wicked. Over the moon.
Can you describe in this moment what it feels like to win this rally?
Oh, I haven't quite. Yeah, no, it's great. It's amazing. I mean, such a long couple of weeks, you know. But yeah, just the last 2 stages, just nursing the car through. No problems, but you know, just so nervous.
Okay.
But yeah, good.
Overall, another Tuthill Porsche on the top step, mate.
Yeah.
How does it feel? Emotional in this moment.
Always, yeah.
Congratulations.
Such a huge amount of effort goes in. I'm sorry for Baldy. He, yeah, it's not a nice way to lose a rally, but he's an amazing guy. Always helps us when we're here, and I'm sorry for him, but yeah.
No. Awesome team, but what a car.
What a car.
For Yevgeny Kiryev and PJ Anderson, second overall would leave them with some fantastic memories, while finally putting to bed the ghost of their last retirement during the final stage of 2022.
This was hard. Well, I had a punch.
You had a puncher. Quick change?
Yeah.
Well done. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
The final podium position went to the BMA Porsche of Jordan Serdaridis and Gregoire Munster, who were clearly relieved and delighted to have got through the final stage.
We got a draft shaft on the previous, and this one we took it very easy. So we have the podium. Super. Super for the team. Also, congrats to the mechanics, because they did a fantastic job. And fantastic for Gregoire as well.
As crews returned to the Diamonds Leisure Golf Club at Diani Beach, the celebrations could finally take place and the champagne corks fly. Once again, this year's event lived up to its name as the greatest classic rally in the world. 45 of the 60 crews made it back to the finish, all with their own stories to tell, but no one in any doubt that this had been the adventure of a lifetime.